Why isn't anyone talking about this when it comes to back pain recovery? Most people think that they need a stronger back to be able to do things like bend over. But the key thing that they're missing a lot of the times is the connection between our back and our glutes and our hips. And so this is a very important connection to understand, because anytime we want to move, we're technically moving at our hips, and our hips should be the main source of our movement. Well, why does it make my back hurt when I bend over? Well, the reality is that most people aren't using their glutes properly. And yes, you need a stronger back and a stronger core, but I think the easiest place to start is your glutes. Now, your glutes control hip extension. So the simple concept here is hip extension and hip flexion, right? And so we often see the glute bridge used as an exercise to solve back pain. And many people understand why, and many people don't. Well, the reason why the glute bridge is so important is because this is the fundamental movement that is supposed to strengthen your glutes. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make when they're doing the glute bridge is they focus on overextending. And what they're actually doing is causing more harm than good. Why? Well, most people, when they do hip extension, are using more of their back than their glutes. And when you're using more back than your back is doing the job that the glutes should be. Meaning, when you go into hip extension, you're overstraining your back, right? And this is important because we want our glutes and the other parts of our body to be doing the job that they should be doing. Your body's going to adapt. And when other parts of your body aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, other parts step up. And over time, this causes injury, wear, and tear. And so when we're doing the glute bridge, something I like to tell people all the time is only go as high as you can go while keeping your glutes as the main driver of the movement. And so the moment you feel your back starting to be more intense or you have any pain, you need to go down, modify the range of motion, and focus on activating your glutes. Over time, you can go here, and eventually you'll be able to go further, knowing that your glutes are the main thing driving the movement. The next key movement I love in this sequence is the elevated seated good morning. Now, the best thing about this one is you can actually do it anywhere. You don't need a bench, you can do it on anything. Now, the key for this movement is to get your feet wider than your shoulders. You can have them slightly pointed out. But the other key is you want your hips to be above your knees. And this is why I say you can do it anywhere. And the goal with this one is to hinge forward, going into extreme hip flexion. And so before we were working on opening up our hips. And now we're working on hip flexion, well, keeping our back and core in alignment. And you can see there's no rounding of my back at this point. I'm really just focusing on bending over. And I'm using my adductors and abductor muscles. I'm using my glutes. And those are the drivers of the movement. Those are the things that are supporting me. I'm not just rounding my back and then causing a bunch of tension here. Now you might be thinking, hey, well, I need to be able to round my back at some point. And of course, you need that. But right now you're probably in pain, and doing that is going to cause you more pain. And so rather than just moving and pushing through pain, you're able to open up these areas of your body, allow your lower back to rest, build that up for resilience, and then eventually you can move however you want because your body's actually moving properly. The muscles are functioning properly, they're firing properly, and your core is being supported with proper movement. You won't believe what doing the reverse plank every day did for my back pain. Essentially, what it did was it gave me the confidence to be able to start to hip hinge again. Now, the reverse plank, or the reverse push-up as I like to call it, is a super, super difficult workout movement for a lot of people. Now, the reason being is if you have back pain and sciatica, you probably can't even sit in this position. And so you're thinking like, how the heck am I going to do that? Well, the beautiful thing about this is if you can't sit like this, you might be able to sit like this or like this, and you can use your hands to find the best position for you. So if you lean back like this, you can push up. Now, this movement is so important because It's using the back of your body, your glutes, your hamstrings, your back, all in one, okay? And you want to focus on pushing your feet into the ground and going into hip extension, right? You want to push your hips up. Now, if this causes pain, just like doing a glute bridge or anything else, you modify the range of motion. So maybe you can only go to here, and that's okay, because that's all you need. And over time, you're going to be able to go straighter and straighter and straighter. And eventually you're going to be able to do single leg like this. Now you might be thinking, why is this important for back pain recovery? Well, let me show you. So when we're thinking about the reverse push-up, well, the reverse push-up is essentially doing this, lying down on the ground, right? And so if I can do the reverse push-up, I can start to do this movement very slowly because I'm training those same muscles. However, the difference is gravity is not pushing down here. So I'm used to bending over and gravity pushing down, and maybe it's causing some pain there because I haven't developed the ability to actually withstand that force. However, when I'm down in this position here and I'm open up like this, gravity is pushing down this way. And so it's pushing down different on my spine. And so it might be a position that you can start to build this hip flexion position. And along with the glute bridge, you're starting to develop some confidence in your posterior chain, your glutes, your hamstrings, and you're starting to get into that flex position without irritating the pain. And the last part of this series is the RDL. So we're taking everything that we've done and we're bringing it all together. So now what we're going to focus on doing is we're going to focus on hip flexion and hip extension while standing. And so in this case, we want to focus on pushing our bum backwards while bending our body forwards and still keeping that alignment, okay? Now you can see in this case, I have the other leg on the wall for support, and I'm also working on hip flexion on both sides, see? And so this provides that balance, provides the strength, and allows you to work in a way that's pain-free. Now, you might be saying, I can't do this. The moment I start to bend, I start to feel back pain. Well, that might be the case. And if it's the case, you only go as far as you can. Keep your body in alignment. Only go back as far as you can. You might only be able to go to there. And over time, what you're going to find is you're going to gain better control of this mechanism here, this movement pattern. And over time, you're going to have better control of your core. And over time, you're going to see that that pain sensitivity is going to go down, and you're going to open up that range of motion. Why isn't anyone talking about this when it comes to the couch stretch and stretching out your quads and hip flexors? So the biggest mistake I see people make when it comes to this stretch is doing just a passive stretch and yanking as hard as they can to try to open up space here. Well, a lot of times, the one thing you don't understand is you're only going to have as much, if you're really tight here, you're only going to have as much ability as your glutes can in doing hip extension, right? And so if this is causing tightness, what I tell people to focus on all the time is actually just activating their glute. Okay, and so what you're going to want to do here is squeeze your glute muscle to go into hip extension as much as you can. Now, for many people, even just getting into this position is going to be impossible. If that's the case, it's okay, right? You can put something in front of you, you can lean here, and just squeeze your glute as much as you can, okay? Over time, what's going to happen is you're going to see yourself standing up more and more. Now, you're going to want to hold this for about 45 seconds, not pushing through the pain, of course, if there's any pain, but you have to earn the position, right? If you're just yanking, pushing on something else to open up this space, it's not active range of motion. It's not something you can use in everyday life, and it's not going to stick. However, if your glute is strong enough to push and open up into hip extension, well, then that's something you can use in everyday life, okay? And so the keys here are to get into the position. You should be able to activate your glute and have a conversation just like I'm doing right now, and relax and allow it all just to happen. It'll take time, but over time you'll see you'll be able to stand up more and more, and then you'll be able to bend back more and more, okay?